Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining my webinar this morning. The webinar is about 2D drawings and detailing in Fusion 360. Thank you for joining my webinar this morning. A little bit about myself. I'm Gideon Besaidnout, and I've got over a decade's experience in quality control. I have my multidisciplinary drafting qualification, and I'm currently an application engineer for micrographics. I do technical consultations, and I am an Autodesk certified instructor. If you'd like to receive more information or you would like to contact me, please see my email details here below. It's gideon@mgfx.co.za. Let's have a look at what's on the agenda for today. On the agenda, it's the introduction, 2D drawings creation, view placement, detailing views, drawing environment settings, and the summary. We will have a look at the plane selection and orientation of the view cube, work through the basis of 2D sketching, the different tool sets that's available in the sketching environment, view placement and adding different details to the drawing, and lastly we will have a look at the drawing environment settings. To start a new 2D drawing, make sure you have selected the Design tab. Select the Create Sketch tool. After you've selected the Create Sketch tool, you'll notice on the screen that the different planes will appear in the browser. On the left side, under the origin, you will be able to see the different planes in accordance with the planes in model space. The XY plane will be the front view, the XZ plane will be the right view, and the YZ plane will be the top view. This is in conjunction with the view cube. Views can be changed on the view cube. If you simply right click on the view cube, scroll down to the Set Current View As option, and you will have the selection of front or top view. When the plane has been selected, you are ready to create your sketch. So under the Control panel and the Create panel, you have different tool sets available. For instance, you've got the line, the rectangle, circular, a slot, and a spline. And you'll see your Create also has a drop-down menu where you can see all the available tool sets that's available in the Create panel. The Modify tab toolsets includes fillets, cut, offset, trim, and chamfer tools that can be used, and this is only to name a few of it. The last toolset we're going to look at is the Constraints tab. This is important as this is being used to constrain your sketch, for instance parallel lines or tangent lines to a circle or radius, and even to make circles concentric to each other. We're going over to do a live demo. In this live demo, before we go to the actual drawing, I will be showing you a bit about the different create, modify and constrain tool sets. Let's look at creating simple shapes. So to create a 2D sketch, you must make sure you're on the design tab and create the sketch, and then you have to select your plane. I like to draw on the front view. Under the create panel, you'll see on the drop down you've got 3 different types of rectangles, for instance the 2-point, 3-point and the center line. The 2-point rectangles creates a rectangle using 2 points for the diagonal corners. For instance, if I choose the rectangle, the first point is to place the first corner, and the second point will be to place the the second corner. You also do get the 3-point rectangle, where you place your first point, your second point, and then you can place your third point. A very handy one is the center rectangle. If you like to use your center origin, you can just click on it and drag it, and you can create a center rectangle. One of the handy tools in Fusion creating in the 2D sketch environment, I'm going to create the center rectangle. Let's say I want it to be 200mm. Then I press tab to change to the bottom tab. As you can see now, I can change the dimension over there. So to switch between the 2 tabs, just press tab on your keyboard. Now I'm going to press enter. Now I've got a nice constraint 200 by 150 block. I'm just going to create a normal block, for instance. Notice you can see this is not a constrained block by the color difference. When a drawing is fully constrained, it will change usually to a black color, and when it's not constrained, it will be this small blue color, light blue color. One of the options I want to show you guys is the rectangular pattern. This is a very handy tool that you can use. Instead of going to start drawing quite a few squares here, you can just use the rectangle option. It tells you the objects you need to select. If I click on my left mouse button and drag across, it selects all those lines. I'm going to press Control because I do not want to select that line. I'm going to choose my direction. I'm going to choose my spacing option. I'm going to set the distance apart 20, and then you've got an option to change it to 8, for instance. Now Fusion will create all those blocks for you automatically in conjunction with your distance settings over here. You can choose a second direction. Also change your distance. Let's say I want this 15 mils apart, or let's make it 40 mils apart. And you can change your quantity. Let's say 4. You press OK, and now Fusion has created a rectangular pattern for you on the selection you have created. Quite a very handy tool when it comes to drawing and making 2D drawings. In the Modify tab, you'll notice there's a drop-down menu where you've got the fillet and chamfer commands. I'm going to choose a fillet, for instance. I'll select my first line or arc, choose my second line. For instance, let's say we want a 15 fillet. If I press enter, it will only select this corner and create a fillet. But if I want multiple fillets, I can just select the multiple fillets and press enter. And now I'll have 2 radiuses over there. The warning that popped up, it's just automatic constraints that has been removed when I created the fillet. You can create the chamfer. You've got 3 different options. You get your equal distance chamfer, distance and angle chamfer, and 2 distance chamfer. I'm going to choose distance and angle, for instance. Choose my first line and my second line. Let's say we want a 5mm chamfer. You can press tab and then it will ask you for your degrees. I'm going to choose the second option. Press enter. Now I've got 2 chamfers. Again, as you can see, the warning says constraints and or dimensions were removed during this operation. It's just automatic constraints that was created when I created the block that has been removed. Quite handy to use these tools. I do not want to save that. I'm just going to create another one. Another tool I want to show you is using the center diameter circle, for instance. I'm placing it on the center. I want a 150 diameter circle. Let's say we want another 10mm circle. I'm going to use the dimension tool just to get a PCD, for instance. I'm going to make that 55. Delete the dimension quickly. Here you've got an option for a circular pattern. If I want to choose the circle, choose my center point. Now you can choose if you want the pattern to be full around or partial or symmetrical. In this instance, just going to use the full. This distributes pattern instance 360 degrees around the axis. Choose full and change the quantity to 6 and press OK. Now we've got equally spaced holes and you don't have to go draw them. Fusion created the pattern for you. A very handy tool. Just quickly going to delete this. Another handy tool that we're going to have a look at. I'm just going to create 2 simple straight lines. In the Modify tab, you actually have the extend and trim command. This comes in handy when you start doing your sketch and you notice you didn't snap it to something, and you can always use the extend command. And when you select it, it just extends it to the next place. You can also use the trim command. Just drawing another simple line. Now you see, okay, that part should not be there. You can use the trim and cut it away. Just deleting that quickly. Lastly, let's have a look at some of the constraints and what they mean. The constraints tab is one of the most important tabs that you'll use during your sketching. I'm going to draw a simple line over there, create another simple line over there. What does the coincident constraint actually mean? It constrains the position of 2 points or a point at a line or curve together. Example, if you want this point to be exactly on that point, so coincident to that point, you choose the coincident constraint, select the point, select the other point, and you see now you've got a full 90-degree corner over there, and those 2 points have been put together. If you've got another line, you can also use the perpendicular. What does the perpendicular do? Constrains two objects so that they lie perpendicular at a 90-degree angle. Just selecting that and the line, you'll see sketch geometry is over constrained. That error will occur because this is already creating a 90-degree corner. If I'm just going to create extend, you'll notice it's already at a 90-degree angle. Another constraint we're going to look at is the horizontal and vertical. This constraint is a single line or 2 points to lie on either the vertical or horizontal axis, whichever is closer to the current alignment. Now I drew a skew line, and you know in your drawing pattern it's actually supposed to be a straight line. You can just select the horizontal vertical constraint, click on the line, and you'll notice that it will either go horizontal or vertical depending on the way you want it. As you can see, there's both the examples. If you've got one single line, let's make this 70 millimeters, and you've got another line, another command you can use instead of a dimension is the equal constraint. It makes the line or constrain similar objects so that the sizes are identical. Because this one has a dimension already, I'm just making both of them equal. If I use the dimension, you'll see it's 70. That's just some of the basics of some of the constraints, the modify and the create tools that you can use to create your drawings. One of the important things to remember is everyone draws differently, and it's about getting to the same end result that's important. I'm going to save that. Now we're going to go have a look at a drawing that I'm going to create. You can notice this is just a small simple drawing that I'm going to create with you guys. Remember, there's multiple different ways of doing this 2D sketch. It's about finding your comfort zone, and what I like to work for or with. You might prefer different methods, but it's about getting to the same end results. When we go back to Fusion, I'm going to create sketch, and like I say, I like to use the front. I'm going to create a normal line. For instance, I'm going to use the coincident constraint because I want to constrain it to the center point. I'm going to create another line. I'm doing this so you guys can actually see how the coincident constraint can actually work. Now I've got two solid lines forming across. Here at the right, you will notice there's a sketch palette with specific options. You've got your line type, where you can change it to a construction or a center line. If you want to look at a specific point, if you want to use your sketch grid, snap settings, your points and dimensions and constraints, for instance. I want to make sure these two lines are actually construction lines. I'm going to click on the one. If I press and hold Control while I click on the other one, you'll notice it selects both, and I'm changing this to construction lines. The first way I would draw this is I'm going to use the diameter circle. And the first diameter is 75 millimeters. Now there's different options you can do now. You can either create another circle or you can use the offset. In this instance, I'm going to use the offset, and I know that should be 12.5, and this diameter will be 100, just to show you guys. Yes, it is because it's already constrained. Sketch geometry is over constrained because I already put in a dimension over here. I'm going to use the offset command again. I'm going to choose the construction line I've created. I'm going to offset it by 7 millimeters. I'm going to use the offset command again. This time I want to go in the opposite direction, so then that will be -7 to go into the opposite direction. Now I'm going to use the trim command. I'm trimming that. Just trimming a few lines over here. Now you will notice the outer line with blue. I can just go to the dimension and make sure it's a 50 radius. And now we've got a nice circle that looks like it's got a small keyway for the clamp. Next, I'll be drawing just a normal nice square and take it down. This dimension, it's 13 millimeters, and from here to this corner it's 14. You will notice while I'm putting in the dimension, Fusion also constrains and use the constraint options to make certain constraints for us. You can see this line and that line, they parallel, that is perpendicular. There's multiple ways you can go about this drawing. I can redraw this again on the opposite side, or I can use the mirror command. Using the mirror command, I'm selecting the 3 lines I want to use. Remember, if you want to select multiple instances, you hold and press Control. So I've got 3 objects. It's going to ask me what mirror line to use. I'm going to choose the center construction line I created, and you'll notice that part will be mirrored to the opposite side, so I don't have to redraw it, and it's fully constrained on that side. Next, I'll be drawing a normal square or rectangle. This will be 150 millimeters long and 60 millimeters thick. I'm going to use a dimension from the center point to the bottom. That dimension is 88 millimeters. Now you'll maybe have the question is, okay, how do you get that square to be directly in the center in conjunction with this construction line and that center point? We've got another constraint here that we can use. It's called the symmetry constraint. It constrains two or more objects so that they are symmetrical, identical to each other in relation to a command axis. I'm going to choose the symmetry constraint, select my first line, select my second line, and where do I want the symmetry to be in conjunction with? I want the construction line I created, and now you'll notice it's fully constrained and it's directly in the center. Now I'll be drawing just 2 lines down. The dimension between these 2 lines is 48 millimeters. As you can see, now this line also moved away. I'm going to use the symmetry constraint again. Choose my first line, my second line, and I want it to be symmetric to this line. And you'll notice my sketch is fully constrained. If I press finish sketch, you'll notice I've got a finished 2D sketch that I've just created quite easily. It's not the most difficult sketch to create. Those points are just over there to show it's symmetrical and because it's been mirrored with this part over here. You'll notice this is the drawing I've just created, or the sketch I've created. After the drawing, we want to obviously get the sketch on a drawing sheet. How do we get the sketch on the drawing sheet? In Fusion, we change the Design tab. We just click on it and go to Drawing. We go and we select the From Design option. First, we need to save the sketch that we've just created. I'm calling this Clamp Fusion 360, for instance, and you save it. When you create the drawing, you'll get this Create Drawing tab on your right. In this tab, you've got a few options. You can choose if you've created a 3D full assembly or visible, or you can even select specific parts. I'm just leaving it as a full assembly, although it's not an assembly. Here you've got the destination, your drawing. You can choose Create New. A template, it's from scratch. Or if your company uses a specific template, you can go browse and use that template. I'm going to use the ISO standard in this case. As you can see, we've got the ASME and ISO standard available. My units, I wanted to leave it in millimeters. Paper size, you've got all your different paper sizes according to the standard. I'm going to leave it on the A3 and I'm going to press OK. You'll notice this table drawing view options is available on the right side. in the paper space. This is the drawing view. Here you've got your orientation. If you've got a 3D model, you can choose your different views, or if you only have a 2D sketch and you did not create it from your front section, you can change it over here. Here you've got your front, your right, left or back view, depends on the plane you've selected. We've also got different visual styles. We've got visible edges, visible and hidden edges. Hidden edges, lines, it's usually for something that's at the back that you can't see from the front. And your shaded with hidden edges comes in handy when you've got a 3D drawing. We've got your scale over here. Your tangent edges, you've got your full length, your shorten or off, and if you created any threads or threaded edges, and center marks for round cuts, fillets, round extrudes and center lines. And now I'm just going to click on the page. I'm going to press OK, and now my drawing, my 2D sketch is visible. When the 2D sketch has been placed, you'll notice the line type might look wrong. Might even look like a phantom line, for instance. In my case, it looks like a phantom line. To change the line types, you simply open your document settings. Your document settings will be here on the left. If you click on the drop down, you'll see there's quite a few settings over there. I'm just going to select document settings. This table will appear. To change the line types, you simply go to the second tab, that is your annotation tabs, and because we are busy with a sketch, we look at the sketch options. Notice my line type is Phantom 2. I want this to be a continuous line type. Here you can change your line width and your color. And you can press OK, and notice it's solid lines. Just to discuss a little bit more about the document settings, when it comes to the annotation, we will go into a little bit more detail in a bit. You'll see you also have your dimension types, your line types. You can change your line width, your color, your gap, and even your arrowhead. As you can see, you can change it to dots, closed fillet, and so on. You can notice you also have in your geometry tab where you can create automatic center marks. I'm going to choose a center mark. I want my outside diameter to have a center mark, and it created an automatic center line for me in that radius over there. We're going to look at doing a few dimensions. In the dimension tab, you'll notice there's a drop down where you've got dimensions, for instance, linear, angular, radius dimensions, diameter dimensions. I want to change it to diameter dimension. I'm going to choose the first one. I'm going to place it over there. Choose the second one, place it over there. And I'm just going to do a few dimensions over here. Choose this corner to that corner. Now all I'm doing now is placing some of the geometry dimensions of the drawing we've just created. Like I said, that was 115. Yeah, this was 16 thick. Got the 14. And then the very important one is the distance from there to there. And now we've created a few dimensions. To go back to the document settings, when we look at your first tab, it says document settings. The standard I chose when we chose the drawing, it's the ISO and the unit is millimeter. Here you can change your font type from Arial to whatever you would like or prefer, your text height, your small text height, your units. Here you can also change it from millimeters to centimeters to inches and feet. I'm going to leave it at millimeters. Your linear position, your 0 units, if you've got, for instance, 25.4, your decimal points. You can choose your mass if you've got mass available. That depends on what you set up during your sketching environment. You can change your line width, your revision history, and the revision numbering, for instance A, B, C, D, or if you want to change it to 1, 2, 3, or even custom change. And you've got your standard over here. On the annotation tabs, we did go through this, but just to show you a little bit more, here you've got labels that if you create labels, for instance like pen IDs or whole IDs, and notes that you can create, and the sketches we went through. Next we'll go to the view tab. In the view, also your visible outer lines, your tangent edges, your hidden lines, your bend center. More options. As you can see, there's quite a few options available that you can play around with. If you've got a 3D drawing and you section it, you can also change your hatch lines and your color. Here you've got your table properties. This comes in handy when you've got a full assembly with different parts. Here you can customize it the same with your balloons and your symbol settings from your line types and your colors. Just to give a short rundown on the document settings, you go to the second tab, you get the annotations tab, you can open sketches and change the line types to continuous. Here you will be able to change a few features like your appearance, your colors of the lines, the selected line types. On the first tab, settings, customizations can be done on your text, your units, millimeter lines, widths, just to name a few. The third tab have visible outer lines, center marks, and bend centers for an example. The detail, the view with dimensions is something we did go through. You can also add text to your drawing. For instance, if you select text and you create your block, you can add text. Here you can change your text height. In this instance, I'm gonna give this a title, and according to the standards, text height for title should be 5 millimeters. You can select if you want it bold, if you want to put in bullets. I want it to be in the center. I'm gonna say and all capital letters. And next the scale is 1 to 1. You can change individual text height. You can also choose your source, your type, and your part number if that was set up. Now I'm going to press enter, and now I've got a title that I can move around, and that's how you can add text. If you've got certain symbols, you can also add surface textures. For instance, putting a note over there. You can also add welding if welding is required, and if you've got specific hole and threads that need specific notes, for instance. So there's quite a lot of details you can actually insert into the drawing. Another feature that's available in Fusion, you can create 2D sketches on your sheet. It's a little bit limited. You've got your line, your 2-point rectangle, a center radius circle, and a 3-point arc and leader. For instance, if you want to create a normal circle over here, let's say that's 4, and you can create a simple line, you can track it. This is just small, simple shapes you can create. And here you've got the option for finish. You'll also see under your modify tab, you've got a few options. You've got move, rotate, copy, trim, extend. You can also add text or inspect. Under the inspect, you can actually measure what you've just drawn. Under your modify, you also have the offset or delete option. Just gonna say finish sketch, and now you've got a drawing that you've just drawn on your drawing paper. In this instance, I want to delete that, so I just select it and I press delete. So you can create a 2D sketch on the drawing page, a small, simple sketch like a circle or a square, or so on. If we look at the summary of today's webinar, Fusion 360 has great 2D sketch environment properties. Fusion 360 provides powerful tools for creating detail engineering drawings and documentation. You can create accurate 2D drawings with precise dimensions and annotations, and user-friendly environments. Fusion 360 is an Autodesk software. And that's it for today's webinar. So thank you for joining me for this webinar. If you have any questions or would like to reach out to us, please do. Thanks for watching. You can like and subscribe for more content.